Guys, today we're going to talk about a pleasant surprise from a knife company that historically has made designs that I'm not such a big fan of. So let's turn this around and take a look at the first one of their knives I really like. So guys, we're going to look at something that I'm pretty happy about. This is the Giant Mouse Atelier. Ace Knives, the Giant Mouse Knives Atelier. And typically I am not a fan of the Giant Mouse knives. And it's not that they're not well-made knives. They always have been. It's just a lot of their designs, all the designs I've ever owned or had come in just really didn't appeal to me. And this is a completely different story on this. So this is the green canvas micarta version of this knife, but there's also a titanium version, just to let you guys know. And I will try to find you a purchase link in the description below. So we're going to talk about this knife in general. We're going to talk about some specs. We're going to do some size comparison. And then we'll talk about how I use it. So let's get the boring stuff out of the way. So first of all, you're looking at a 2.87 inch, so basically a 2.9 inch blade that's measured from the highest aspect point of the handle all the way to the tip. So basically from there up, you've got a overall length of 6.8 inches. So it's not a real big knife. Your weight on this is 3.3 ounces. It's done in Elmer steel, and it is a liner lock, and it's a really nice liner lock. There's no stick, really good lockup on this. I've had zero issues with it. Sometimes I'm not a fan of how liners are done. So let's do some size comparison and then just talk about the knife overall. So the first knife for size comparison is the Spyderco PM2. You can see here, tip to tail, it's a good bit shorter. I use knives as a size reference if you're new to the channel so that you don't just have me telling you the length. You got a visual representation. So your second knife for comparison is the Benchmade 940. That is probably one of the best known, if not the best known knife in the knife world. You can see it's shorter than the 940. And then your final knife, as always, is the Chris Reeves Sebenza Large 21. So you're going to have that. You're going to recognize one of those knives. So you're going to have a good reference. Let's get this out of the way and talk about the knife and how I used it. So like I said, I really enjoyed carrying this knife, and I didn't do like a bunch of hard use testing. I just used this knife. If this was my knife, the things that I would use on a day-to-day, and I found it did a very good job. Elmax is absolutely one of my favorite steels. It's obvious that they did a good job with the heat treat and grind on this because it's not as sharp as it was, but it's still really sharp. It still has a very crisp edge up, especially up here where I didn't use it as much. I did use this to cut a lot of cardboard. I did some wood cutting, just little day-to-day things that you would typically do, and it held up really well. I found that it's very, very comfortable. I love the blade on it. It's ground down with a flat grind, almost a full flat, down to a relatively meaty, middle of the line behind the edge thickness with a really good edge grind. It's nice and consistent. I don't see any inconsistencies in it. It's got this nice clip point blade that's really attractive. A ramped area, like a dished out area here for your thumb with some very good jimping. Up here where I really would want it on this knife, this is how I'm going to hold it, is up here. Not enough companies put jimping up here where you're going to have your thumb in some of the more heavy cuts. It is a reverse flick only, just off the aperture, which it does beautifully well. And you can slow roll off of that just like you would with a lot of the thumb stud knives. The canvas micarta on this is done so well. This is one of my favorite handle materials, is a heavy canvas micarta. Micarta is just beautiful. You can see the coarse lines in it. It's attractive, but on top of that, it's a very, very good grip material. It's not cold in the winter. It stays nice and grippy even if your hands are wet. It is attractive, but it's also one of the most comfortable materials because it doesn't hold sharp edges. It's a canvas epoxy resin laminate, and it does a really, really good job as knife handles. It's just one of my favorite materials. Big backspacer on this with a lanyard hole that I do not mind. The action on this, like I said, really, really good. It's not fall shut. You can shake it home. It's shake shut home. But that's not a bad thing. I'm not always the guy that has to have the drop shut. Sometimes it can be unsafe, especially on a knife that is as sharp as this was when it showed up. Pocket clip on this. This is one of my favorite style pocket clips. These wire clips that are just bent around, almost like a bent paper clip. They are so comfortable in hand. And the other thing is these have much less chance of scratching your car door, I have a leather steering wheel in my car, things like that. Much less likely to be sharp and scratch those things. But the other thing is it's rounded. So even if it is in a position where it could be a hot spot, there's no hard, sharp edges on it. It's just round. And so it just softens that feel in hand. Plus they are just great in and out of pocket. I really have come to love these, even if they do have a tendency to move a little bit. Access to the lock bar is fairly decent. You've got fairly decent access to the lock bar. They did just about the right amount of reduction of material here and then functional jimping that's not sharp. Sometimes when companies do jimping on this flipper or the liner or on a lock bar just in general, it can be a little aggressive and it feels sharp, especially if the detent's really stiff. On this, not a problem. Next thing, I love a good backspacer. The reason I love a backspacer is because a lot of times when you've got a knife in your pocket with other stuff, especially keys and things like that, it prevents things from getting in there and damaging your edge. So it's got a really nice backspacer and everything has been married up really, really good. I did some wood cutting with this, and I am going to tell you, when you get up in this grip here, you can do some fine detail tasks and things like that. And the shape of the blade could be used as an outdoor all-around knife because it's got enough belly that if you're carrying this in your pocket, you could use this to do small game, especially with how you can get up on this. This knife does not have a full finger choil, but it's another one of those knives that has the area here, and because there's the lack of a flipper tab, it's got an area here where you can get all the way up on it, like I said, right here, and not be in danger of getting up on the sharpened edge, and you still have got really good control. Even on a smaller knife like this, when I get up on that, I can still get a full 4-finger grip, and even back here, it's not bad. I've got like 3.5 finger grip on that. So lots of really good things going on about this knife. And then ambidextrous pocket clip. They did a really good job with that. And there is a screw there to keep the threads clean, even though you may have to clean out those slots. Really, really good, really well thought out. And then all of the spots on this, all of the spine, and then even up here on the area where your tang is and down into that sharpening choil, all of them have been crowned, which gives it a very quality look and feel. So now, we talk about this all the time. With any knife, there's going to be a couple issues. So let's flip this around, flip side of the knife, flip side of the story. Okay, now there's not much on this, really. There's only a couple small things. I do wish, even though this jimping is good, and I like it being up here, because that's where I did most of the cutting, was having my thumb up here, it would have been nice to just have this jimping go all the way back, even though it would detract from that beautiful crowned spine that you've got on that, which gives it a really good look. It would have been nice to, maybe not all the way, but just a little bit more so that when you get your thumb on it like that. The next thing, the aperture here, they could have done a little bit to soften that edge. It's a little bit of a hard edge there. Not bad, just a little bit of one right there in the aperture. So when you flick off of it, or if you've got sensitive, like soft thumbs, which I do not, it's a little sharp, and you can see fingernail material coming off. That's an indicator that tells me that's a little bit of a harder edge than I want. And then the final thing, and this isn't a knock against knife, it's still a great, great knife. There is a little bit of blade play I was unable to rectify, and you can see there ever so slightly a difference in the way the blade sits. And I think that might have something to do with it. It's definitely closer on this side of the scale. You can look right in there. You can see smaller gap here, larger gap there. Let me zoom in on it so you can see what I'm talking about. Can you see the difference in the gap? Well, there's also a little bit, let me see if I can, there's some blade play that's in there and flex in the knife itself. Now, I do know that it's centered when closed, but when open, there's a little bit of an offset in there, which I'm not sure what that would cost. I tried tightening the pivot down. I couldn't tighten the pivot down anymore without it being too tight. And then it still had some play, a little bit of flex in that pivot. So that's the only, like, build quality thing that I've seen, is that when it's open, it's just off ever so slightly. And the only reason I noticed that was because I felt the flex in the blade in the open position. But it's tight. The lockup is great. I didn't feel any flex in the lock, even though it's got some blade play. Sometimes you've got blade play, you'll feel some flex in the lock. Not an issue on it. So overall, great knife. Really love it. Is it a yup or a nah? It's definitely a yup. I love this. I liked the quality of the giant mouse knives in the past. I've just never had one that appealed to me, and I'm really glad that this showed up. So big shout out to Jared for sending this along. Guys, that's it on this one. Let's turn this around. We'll do some final thoughts and send you out about your day. Yeah, guys, there you go. I'm glad that I finally got one that I like. I can appreciate the build quality and materials and everything that I've seen in the other giant mouse knives. They were just knives that didn't appeal to me, and I absolutely love this thing. This is a great little knife. Absolutely would recommend it if you want to try and pick it up. I don't know if I'll be able to find a link to one, but I'll definitely try to, so that you guys can pick one up. That's it on this one, guys. Hopefully you like the improvement in quality. I have a big channel announcement that's coming. I'm going to make sure that I do that soon. So you're going to have a change in content, not necessarily a change in content, but maybe a change in the amount and frequency. So there's lots of ways you guys can support the channel. I didn't throw an ad in, but I do have 3 sponsors: Doll Strong Knives, Coffee Brand Coffee, Tempered Trail. Coffee Brand Coffee and Tempered Trail have discounts built into their links. Speaking of discounts, coupon code crazysharp will save you 40% at Beyond EDC Knives, 10% at Fair & Forge Knife Works, 10% at Rosecraft Blades, and 10% at KATSU Knives. And that is Crazy Sharp, all one word, all lowercase. I have got affiliate links to most of the major vendors down below. Do all your knife shopping that way. It supports the channel. It doesn't cost you anything extra at checkout. And my Amazon store's down there as well. It works the same way. Take that, pin it to your browser, use it for all your Amazon shopping. Think about joining my membership down below. Lots of benefits. This month I'm giving away a $300 knife to the paying members. I have a private Discord. I do exclusive content, and there's a premium sharpening tutorial series. And I've built a public Discord for everybody. You can join that by down in the description where it says join the community. It's the best way to reach out to me if you've got knives you'd like to see on the channel or recommendations of things. Hit me up there in the DM section. Guys, that's it on this one. I love you all. Keep it clean in the comments section. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. And I'll see you in the next video.